Before you listen, if you enjoy the stories and want to hear more, then please consider subscribing. Most of you listening aren't subscribed, so please take this time to subscribe. Turn on notifications so you'll never miss a story and be the first to hear. You'll also be supporting me. Thank you. I don't know what temporarily possessed me to download it. Maybe it was the relentless onslaught of filtered selfies from my friends with cute dog ears and nose combos. Or the endless Snapchat cultural reference memes that continuously went over my head. I just wanted to finally understand what all the constantly trending hype was actually about. So one mindlessly boring Saturday night, home alone in my cramped studio apartment per usual, I decided to break down and download the mysteriously addictive Snapchat app to see what I had been missing out on. Making it another social media account was easy and straightforward enough, I suppose. I edited a bunch of happy smiling photos of myself, connected my contacts, and requested to follow all my closest friends and family members so I wouldn't feel overwhelmed by total strangers. Everyone happily approved my request right away. I hesitantly sent out a few awkward snaps to test the waters, played around with all the augmenting filters that distorted and changed my facial features in disturbing ways. Pretty basic and user-friendly app, but I grudgingly accepted I could see how it could become kind of fun and amusing. Then later, when I was thoroughly scrolling through and examining all aspects of the platform, I stumbled upon an eerie feature called Snap Maps, which eagerly offered to publicly share my specific location in real time with approved friends. This seemed immediately concerning and ripe for potential abuse, but I convinced myself I was just being irrationally paranoid as usual. My most outgoing friend Jess already enthusiastically used and recommended the convenient maps feature so she could pinpoint where everyone was meeting up without the tedious back and forth communication barriers. She said it made spontaneously hanging out 100 times more effortless when you could confirm your entire squad was already at the same club or a few streets away at a house party. I begrudgingly enabled the real-time location sharing Snap Map before properly thinking through the actual implications and privacy risks. Instant gratification peer pressure can be dangerously real when you finally want to fit in, Neil. At first, everything seemed harmlessly fine and normal on Snapchat. It was admittedly kind of entertaining to curiously watch the little cartoon Bitmoji versions of my friends and random acquaintances spontaneously pop up at all the popular hangout spots scattered around our tiny rural town throughout the weekends. Just meaningless digital dots aimlessly floating above familiar restaurants and bars I also frequented. But then after using the location tracking Snap Map feature daily for almost 2 weeks, I started to sporadically notice one especially ominous and threatening username, Stalking You 69, mysteriously appearing at random public locations in closer and closer proximity to wherever I happened to actually be physically located at most times of day or night. This creepy, peculiar anomaly still didn't immediately trigger any blaring internal panic alarm bells in my brain, though after the first few chance sightings. I was still clinging to the very plausible explanation that this was probably just some totally random person who also coincidentally lived in my quiet neighborhood. Maybe they were simply checking themselves into Snap Map to unlock achievements or document their location status for innocuous reasons. I forced myself to take a few deep breaths and try to calmly rationalize it all the way at first, internally justifying that I was likely becoming compulsively paranoid all of a sudden about an app I had just downloaded without properly vetting or understanding the potential privacy risks like my location being tracked. But the increasingly consistent coincidental public map sightings of stalking 69's cartoon avatar in different locations suspiciously close to me did very quickly become undeniably alarming and threatening the longer this terrifying pattern continued. My anxiety and panic levels instantly skyrocketed late one weeknight when I couldn't sleep, restlessly scrolling through social media in bed. Out of morbid curiosity, I opened Snapchat to refresh the map and scanned aimlessly for any friends still awake and out and about. But instead, I immediately noticed Stalking 69's animated Bitmoji inexplicably hovering at the end of my street, practically on top of my own Bitmoji cartoon relocated inside my quiet, darkened apartment complex. Or another vivid example, when I was sitting alone outside at a quaint cafe downtown on my 30-minute lunch break from the yoga studio one mundane Saturday. I reflexively opened and refreshed Snap Map out of pure force of habit at this point, I vividly remember freezing in confusion and fear when I instantly spotted the dreaded stalking 69 username having just dropped and threatening photo snap of the untouched salad sitting at my literal cafe table from mere minutes earlier. Horrified, I instantly threw cash down and fled the restaurant in utter panic, frantically scanning the busy sidewalks for anyone who looked suspicious or was deliberately following me. But I think the most deeply terrifying and creepy incident by far was when I could have sworn I glimpsed an actual physical person suspiciously resembling stalking 69's Bitmoji, idling alone inside their plain white work van parked in the farthest darkened corner of my gym's mostly abandoned parking garage. This happened late one weeknight as I was timidly walking alone to my Toyota after a strenuous kickboxing class, painfully aware of how my heels echoed in the shadows. Every single self-defense instinct I had started blaring deafening alarms inside my mind all at once when I spotted that ominous vehicle with blacked-out windows. But despite my legs shaking with adrenaline begging me to run back inside immediately, I forced myself to shakily march right up to the van as confidently as possible, determined to get a license plate or identifying details about this likely predator brazenly hunting me. However, the absolute second I was close enough to investigate, tires were already squealing out of the parking spot, leaving me in the dust desperately shouting after them and taking blurry photographs destined to be useless. But every single time without fail I tried to actually verify or investigate one of these increasingly threatening incidents happening with ever-growing terrifying frequency, there wouldn't be a single soul or even a trace of evidence remaining no matter how fast I reacted. I tried rationalizing it away, convincing myself perhaps I was just becoming compulsively paranoid all of a sudden now. But my repeatedly triggered fight or flight gut instincts screamed an entirely different, much more sinister explanation. I had just recently downloaded Snapchat at the endless urging of my friends, who were completely obsessed with the app. They raved nonstop in our group chats about the hilarious face-morphing filters you could apply to selfies. How the disappearing messages and stories added a thrill-inducing air of excitement and mystery compared to boring old permanent texting. I have to admit, after weeks of FOMO, I was extremely intrigued. And honestly, it was nice to finally feel like part of the cool, in-the-know crowd for once instead of the perpetual childhood BF, always on the outside looking at everyone else's inside jokes. So one boring Friday night, home alone per usual, I decided to download Snapchat to see what all the constant hype was about. I spent hours eagerly playing around with all the wacky selfie filters, turning myself into a wrinkly golden retriever, a rainbow vomiting unicorn, even a dancing animated hot dog. I was having fun sending the absolute silliest snaps back and forth with my best friends. We were laughing harder than we had in ages at our digitally altered doppelgangers. And I had to admit, I did feel an actual rush of excitement whenever I post a photo or inside joke into the ephemeral void, not knowing if or even when someone would open it before it vanished forever like a cryptic magic trick. I slowly began genuinely understanding and sharing the mass appeal. Over the next few days, I added more semi-forgotten friends who also had Snapchat accounts. It was entertaining to get surprise photo snaps from people I hadn't talked to since middle school for our awkward braces phase. It genuinely felt like we were young kids again, giddily passing paper notes with gossip or bad jokes to each other in the stuffy school hallways between classes. This app made it so easy to instantly reconnect with old friends, keep up with new crushes, and even stalk my favorite celebrity stories. I was really enjoying this fleeting little social network where content spontaneously disappeared almost as quickly as it was created. Until I received an ominous friend request from someone named Stalker666. Now that probably should have raised major red flags immediately. But morbid curiosity honestly got the better of me in the moment. I assumed this was just another old school friend or someone I had met at a party trying to freak me out as a lame prank. So I jokingly accepted the request from Stalker666, already excitedly planning the barrage of ugly crying selfies and profanity-laced rants. I would send to freak this amateur stalker out even more for some funny reactions. Ha ha. Joke's on you, creepy poser. But Stalker666 did not actually find my intentionally hideous selfies and exaggerated threats the least bit amusing. Almost immediately after I sent the first repulsive photo of me fake bawling with a text about murdering his entire family, a deeply ominous message surprisingly appeared from the mysterious account. I know precisely where you live, Jessica. If you don't wire $5,000 to the encrypted Cash App below within 24 hours, I will stop by your home at 3 a.m. tonight while you're sleeping all alone in the dark. I stared wide-eyed at the dim phone screen, barely illuminating my perplexed face in the dark bedroom. My amused smile instantly vanished. What the actual hell? Was this still somehow part of the prank, or a very psychotic stranger's extremely sick idea of a twisted joke? The violent threats kept flooding in, each one more personal and unhinged than the last. This freak knew my full name, my home address, my daily routine, the car I drove, hell, even what I had eaten for lunch earlier that day, apparently. The anonymous account kept demanding untraceable money transfers and threatening to break into my house that very night if I didn't comply with their cascading demands immediately. I tried fruitlessly blocking the stalker's 666 profile again and again, but dozens more new accounts continuously popped up one after another like chaos-loving whack-a-moles. Pay or else, I dare you to block it. Hurt Too Badly were just a few of the terrifying usernames that kept appearing. When I blocked one, an even creepier one would instantly take its place, endlessly continuing the twisted torment. Now in full panic, I completely deleted the Snapchat app itself as a desperate last resort. But the very next morning, as I was leaving my house to wearily go to work, I received an ominous text message from an unknown number threatening violent revenge if I didn't reinstall Snapchat immediately because our fun was just beginning. Hands violently shaking and heart palpitating, I drove straight to the police station to beg them for help after showing them the deeply disturbing threats. But because everything was technically anonymous still at that point, all the trained officers could legally do was take a report and promise to follow up if my stalker made any direct contact attempts or threats using identifying info. Feeling helpless and completely terrified, I re-downloaded Snapchat with trembling hands before I even made it to work, too fearful to find out what would happen if I ignored this unknown psycho stranger's tormenting demands. Just as expected, hundreds more threatening messages instantly flooded in from dozens of bizarre new accounts. But now a mysterious stalker was threatening horrifying violence not only against just me, but also against my family, friends, co-workers, even beloved pets if I didn't comply. The fiercely ominous promises sent unrelentingly now that I clearly couldn't hide by deleting social media apps because they would still always find me taunted. I stopped sleeping or eating. Severe anxiety made me violently ill as sinister promises from endless anonymous accounts flooded all forms of contact I had. Going to work or talking to friends felt dangerous and exhausting, like this monster somehow watched my every mundane move. I drew the blinds 24/7 and jumped at the slightest unusual sounds in my own home that once felt so secure before Snapchat entered my life along with the scariest stalker imaginable. I should have instantly seen the glaring red flags when my field hockey best friend, Kelly, first eagerly added the notoriously toxic Savannah to our previously tight-knit Snapchat group of 10 girls. In hindsight, it's obvious she was dangerously determined to stir up petty drama from her very first photo snap. But stupidly eager to seem friendly and inclusive as always, we welcomed the bombshell blonde newcomer to our squad right away. Our typical frenzy of dizzying selfies instantly flooded Savannah's phone, ranging from our signature hyper group shots mid-laughing fits filtered with cute rabbit ears and sparkly flower crowns to my personal favorite solo posing pics enhanced with a rosy beautify effect. Savannah oozed false excitement as she immediately sent back an overwhelming barrage of her own selfies in return. They displayed her deceptively angelic face from all angles, her long golden hair always seeming breezily backlit despite the sterile bedroom backdrop. We ate up the cloyingly perfect shots instantly, reflexively thumbing rows of heart-eyed emojis on every vain photo. Even I got momentarily sucked into incredibly envying her flawless glowing skin and dazzlingly white smile that clearly cost more than my car. Who wouldn't leap at rare friend requests from such hot, popular girls so far out of our dweeby league at our pitiful public school? But that very same night, an unsettling notification popped up on my phone screen from none other than our group's newest member herself. The otherwise benign, "Hey girly," private message preview text was eclipsed by the risky request detailed within. Turns out behind the scenes, This two-faced Savannah girl had sinister plans to cruelly turn us against each other for her own twisted amusement. She wanted me to snap an extremely offensive photo of myself secretly holding a handmade sign spewing horrible body-shaming insults about our beloved field hockey coach Miss Rhonda's weight to get a quick laugh. Out of fear over losing my secure spot in the once fun exclusive chatting group all my friends belonged to, I regrettably caved into the peer pressure rapidly mounting. In a momentary lapse of weak judgment, I hastily scrawled a vicious sign reading "Our coach, Rhonda, is a fat, ugly cow," and held it up selfie style with a forced playful moon caption typed out underneath as commanded. Smirking devil girl Savannah instantly screenshotted my digital act of utter betrayal before I could blink or properly consider potential consequences. Mere hours later, I awoke to my phone violently vibrating itself straight off my nightstand, charging dock from the sheer flood of enraged notifications blasting me for such cruel harassment towards our mentor. That she-devil Savannah had gleefully aired my coerced photo onto the public group story for all my friends and teammates to instantly turn against me. They were already labeling me a totally heartless bully just for some cheap laughs. I desperately explained in panicked paragraph-length blocks of text that it had all been manipulator Savannah's dangerously orchestrated idea as a setup in the first place. That she had blackmailed me into posting the meme pic by threatening my secure spot in this once fun friend group. But my frantic excuses resounded hollow now amongst almost all my disgusted teammates. The irreparable damage was already spreading like gag-inducing gossip wildfire. My closest gal pals tearfully relayed how no real friend would ever bully others just for sick popularity games. Before I could even attempt to defend myself any further, those I formerly trusted most delivered the brutal final blow of removing me from the exclusive chat club I had cherished without hesitation. Utterly humiliated and friendless yet again thanks to Peach Emoji Queen Savannah's expert sabotaging schemes, I quickly exited the venomous group chat myself before they could officially deliver that nail in the social coffin. But the very next afternoon at school, my personal circle of living hell widened even further when that two-faced snake Savannah approached me directly by the lockers again. Suddenly she was playing nice as pie, batting her fake eyelashes and gushing about letting bygones be bygones. She loudly insisted my former friends were being totally dramatic divas about our little prank, and would for sure get over their ridiculous overreactions soon enough. Luring me back under her perfectly manicured talons, she urged me to casually rejoin the Snapchat girl gang very soon, so we could rightfully take back control of the petty situation, and reign supreme once more. Foolishly, I again took her dangling bait, praying she was actually trustworthy this time, and could somehow magically smooth tensions over with the very friendships she single-handedly torpedoed for her own amusement. But boy was I wrong. So very wrong. Not only had the resident mean girl clearly not attempted to repair things with my teammates, she had intentionally stoked the fires into an uncontrollable social inferno against my reputation instead. Upon my nervously hopeful return to the girls' group chat space, I was met instantly with an onslaught of even more vicious accusations and assumptions. Vengeful Savannah had wasted zero time between smugly adding me back using her admin powers to immediately resuming her targeted tormenting spree. She told elaborate lies that I had been maliciously gossiping about all their deepest insecurities behind their backs for laughs. That I was the extra two-faced snake in the grass, not her. My devastation deepened exponentially when numerous once allies began coldly mentioning extremely humiliating personal secrets and insecurities I confessed privately to a very select few girlfriends back when I still trusted them. Those heart-wrenching admissions about my rocky family life were supposed to be healing release valves from the bottled-up stress no one else could ever know or understand. I felt utterly betrayed realizing total strangers were weaponizing my many vulnerabilities shared in presumed confidence to tear my very spirit further asunder. Late at night, when I couldn't stop endlessly spiraling, my phone screen suddenly illuminated with more ominous Snapchat notifications delivered in quick succession like nails hammering the final barricades around my dignity shut. I opened each new message preview with violently trembling hands and mounting horror, greeted by a barrage of photoshopped images and cruel memes depicting me in all manners of degrading poses and activities. And emblazoned in glaring bold fonts across every vile faked picture were also now those deepest, darkest secrets and shames that were only ever meant for a rare few non-judgmental ears. Frantically scrolling